Today I'm here with Ryan. He's a Canadian that's been traveling all over Vietnam for about 6 weeks now. So today we're going to talk about his best experiences that he's had, what he thinks about the different Vietnamese cities. I'm really excited to talk to him today, see how his trip has been so far. Hopefully he's had a great time. So Ryan, how we doing? Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Why don't you start, tell everybody your background, where you're from, like what you do for work, and what's the deal with this Vietnam trip?
Yeah, for sure. Been in Canada, Toronto, London, Ontario for my whole life pretty much. I've always wanted to come to Asia, but I always kept putting it off. I was just like, oh, I'll go someday, I'll go someday. And at the moment right now, I work remotely. And I'm fortunate right now where I've got a very flexible team, very flexible schedule. And the guys that I work with have already traveled the world, so they encouraged me to come actually. I thought it was the best time while I have this job too to just do it. Just take the opportunity and just do it. So I'm doing a 6-month Asia trip. It would have been a year, but I have to go back for my friend's wedding. Damn it.
And then we're trying to convince you to come back after that.
Yeah, and then I really want to come back after that. And so far, from what I've seen, part of me is like, do I even like leave Vietnam, right? But like the other part is like, I probably should see, a few other places first. Yeah.
All right, so we're hanging out in Da Nang now, but I actually met Ryan in Hanoi, which is a pretty interesting story. So we'll get into that later. The reason I invited Ryan today is because I've been really impressed. I think that he's traveling Vietnam the right way. Working remotely, so he's got enough time to kind of slow travel the country, but he's really tried to see a lot of different places. He's been trying a lot of different Vietnamese dishes that people that have lived here for years have never tried. He's picked up some of the language in such a short time. Why don't we start? You landed in Ho Chi Minh City, right?
Yeah.
That was your first experience.
Stop.
So what was that kind of like?
Yeah, so people did kind of say, like when I was doing the overall planning too, people were like, oh, maybe go to Thailand first because it's easier for tourists. Oh, maybe don't go to Ho Chi Minh first because it's just way too busy. But I decided, no, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to go south to north a little bit. And when I landed, I was surprisingly not overwhelmed. Like it was very chaotic, but like I loved it. Like there's like amazing energy from the city, just like never stopping. Like nothing ever stopped.
So Vietnam's a chaotic place in general. Ho Chi Minh City is the wildest place of them all. People are always, usually they're a little bit overwhelmed when they first arrive there. And then when they end up in a place like Da Nang, they're like, oh, it's so much more relaxed and calm. Any particular good experiences in Ho Chi Minh City?
First time being, in Vietnam and then being in Ho Chi Minh, like I just really love the street food. So just walking around and just seeing so many street vendors in the evening, how everything just kind of opens up a bit more, it seemed like. Mm-hmm. Like I'd walk by in the day to some places, and that same street I'd walk at night, and it would just be a different street. And there'd just be like small chairs and tables everywhere, everyone packed and eating together. And I was just, I really liked how everyone really got together for like big community eating. That was really cool to me, so that kind of stood out a lot.
Most Vietnamese people and foreigners will agree that the South has the best food out of all the country. So you've been everywhere around the country now, you've been trying a lot of food. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed a big difference between the types of food and like which foods you like the best?
Yeah, I guess the big one is pho. And in the South, it's sweeter. The broth is not as clear. It seems like up here, up north, like it's like instantly mix in stuff to your broth. But it seemed like in Ho Chi Minh, I don't know, someone was like to me, like respect the broth, like
it's already kind of good to go.
It's already good to go. Like don't touch the broth.
Pho is the easiest example where it's the same dish but completely different style and flavors from north to south. There's a lot of dishes that you can mostly only find in Ho Chi Minh City that you won't find in Hanoi and vice versa. Moving on from Ho Chi Minh City, from there you went straight to Hanoi, right?
Yeah, I went to Hanoi.
And why did you do that? Why did you skip Da Nang and go to Hanoi?
Yeah, so my original plan was, go south to north. But I actually had a friend, so it just aligned where he was in Hanoi during the time I was planning to be in Da Nang. But I was like, I'll shift him on my trip. I was a lot more flexible than he was able to be. So I was like, let me move things around. I'll go see him. And another part of it in my mind was like, maybe it would be kind of nice to get like the busy cities out of the way first. So when I get to Da Nang, I can do what you just said there and have like that deep relaxation breath, like really get into focus mode.
Yeah, and then you've kind of posted up here a little bit longer term
Yeah.
than the other places, right? So in Hanoi, this is why it's kind of interesting how I ran into Ryan. My girlfriend and Luan were down there a few weeks ago just for a couple days visiting. And we actually went to this coffee shop where I used to live when I lived in Hanoi years ago. And it's on a really small kind of peninsula, island almost, very local neighborhood outside of anywhere where tourists would normally be. And Ryan happened to be walking by and see me sitting in front of this cafe. And he came up and he's like, hey, I think I've seen your videos. Like, and around Da Nang, I get recognized quite a bit because I make a lot of videos about Da Nang. But I definitely wasn't expecting to see anybody that's seen my videos while I was in Hanoi. And just for him to make it into this very local neighborhood, I thought it was super interesting. I'm like, what are you doing over here?
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm just kind of walking around, just exploring.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool to begin with. I was actually there for a rugby tournament, and Ryan was like, oh, I love rugby. I used to play rugby. So he ended up coming out and hanging out and watching the rugby all day. So we had a good time down there. And then we met up again once we both got back to Da Nang. So how about your thoughts on Hanoi compared to Ho Chi Minh City?
Yeah, for sure. Well, and to give more context to that story too, like I really liked going to a bunch of different places. Like every day I would just choose like, what's this area? And just go find a coffee shop and work in that area. So it was like really just very random, interesting chance that just you were there, chose to go to that area that day. So that was fun.
Ho Chi Minh City is a very big city where there's a lot of different things spread around the city. In Hanoi, it's also a very big city, but all of the stuff to do is in a very tiny part of town called the Old Quarter. And most people will go to Hanoi for a day or 2 days, see that tiny section of the city, and then go off to the other parts around the mountains in the north. So I very rarely have met a tourist, somebody just traveling through that actually saw these other parts of the city. And those are actually the great parts of the city. So yeah, what was your thoughts compared to Ho Chi Minh?
Hanoi seemed kind of more like a town feel, but like a big town. Like it's still super busy, but maybe, generally, especially in the Old Quarter, the streets were smaller, right? The buildings were a little bit older, had maybe a bit more character. Traffic was still crazy, maybe even a little bit crazier. The traffic, maybe, I don't know. The weather, maybe, I was not maybe a fan of the weather. The pollution was was rough for me.
The pollution was very bad. Like it was worse than normal when we were both there together.
Trying to enjoy the hot weather, so I spent 80% of my time, my waking time, outside. Whenever I got the chance to, I was eating outside, I was doing my work outside, so I was inhaling a lot of that air, and then eventually it caught up to me, and I got like just really bad congestion.
So only after about a week there, right? You were there for about a week?
2 weeks.
2 weeks? Yeah, it only takes a couple days when you're in that environment of really terrible air quality that you actually feel it. It's very bad. I always say it's a lot worse than people even think. People already know it's polluted, but it's even worse than that.
Yeah, it's something that I've taken for granted, right? Like air quality. In Toronto, it's still a big city, and some people complain about that as well too. But it was just a very different sort of level in Hanoi. One of the other things I really liked was the lakes. How there's a bunch of different lakes, because to me that was like finding some peace amongst the chaos, right? So I enjoyed going sitting by the lake, maybe having a sugarcane juice or hanging out. Some students came up. I noticed it was weird. I don't know if it was by chance, but a lot more students interacted with me in Hanoi. They'd want to come up and talk and practice their English with me. They wanted to like either record me, to have a conversation, or they just wanted to chat and learn about what life was like, where I'm from, and practice their English. So I appreciated that, and that was fun. And I also tried to, get them to help me with my Vietnamese.
Yeah, always going to be young kids, Vietnamese people in general. They're pretty much interested in everyone, where you come from, your Western culture, and they want to learn English. So were you actually able to pick up some of the Vietnamese? Is that how you did it, from the interacting with the kids a little bit?
I was, so some of the stuff I searched on Google Translate, And I was just so I have kind of like a rule whenever I go somewhere to a new country, I want to learn certain key phrases. So it's always like the to try to be polite. So it's always like the hi or good morning, the thank you, the sorry, the excuse me. Canadians, so you can imagine we know we need to know how to say sorry. So those ones I'll look up, and so I'll try to use those, and then I'll talk to people about it, like, does it make sense to say that? Am I saying it right? And then as we're talking about things, yeah, I would ask them like, oh, how do I say this? Am I saying this right? Do people say this to each other? So they taught me a few words as well too. A tip that someone told me recently, which I didn't even notice, was that Vietnamese language is like all the words are one syllable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa, yeah, I guess that is true. So that's kind of helped my pronunciation a lot because when I was thinking of like, yeah, words instead of like no, like water, like like yeah, I was like splitting them into two.
Yeah, that's a good
Mango
point.
splitting it into two, but now I'm like, okay, try to keep it as one, and then try to get the different. It's not a different syllable, but try to get the different part of the word. It comes from the pronunciation or the accent or whatever it is, right?
Yeah,
The
right.
emphasis, right?
That's a good point, I think. So everything's one syllable, so you're just focusing on each word, the pronunciation of it, using the correct tones.
Yeah, the tones.
So it's interesting. Even a word that has two syllables, like the Vietnamese last name Nguyen, right? Like we would say Nguyen, like it's a two-syllable word,
Yeah.
but they'll say it very fast, as if it's only one syllable.
Oh, interesting.
So it's like Nguyen Van Duc, dun dun dun, right? So
Yeah.
even there are some two-syllable words that you
Yeah.
pronounce it as one,
One still.
syllable,
Wow, interesting.
right? Weird language, it's tough.
Wow.
And that's why I've been very impressed in a handful of weeks. You're able to order things pretty well. And that's the only way you can do it is just try to ask one word at a time here and there.
Yeah.
And the certain words that you'll use every single day, like thank you,
Yeah.
how do I get the bill? How do I order one more?
Yeah.
And you just do it 2 or 3 times and then you got them locked in your
Yeah,
memory,
yeah.
right? Because you're using them every single time.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Did you notice some positive interaction with people because
Yeah.
they see that you're trying to speak a little Vietnamese?
Yeah, they definitely appreciate it. All the time, they'd always have a smile on their face. And then sometimes it'd be like completely surprised, be like, whoa, like, oh, wow. So, yeah, that was cool. You can tell they definitely appreciated it. Oh, yes.
So
It's so good.
from Hanoi, then you made it down to Da Nang. Now you've been hanging out here for a few weeks. Right? What's your living situation been kind of like?
Yeah. Living situation, I've been in an Airbnb in the Mien area, like just off probably the main core strip, I guess. It's been good. I like the idea of an Airbnb. It's more of like a service apartment, so it's kind of in between a hotel and a just like if it was a general Airbnb where you had to do like all the cleaning for yourself, right?
Right.
So someone comes in once a week to clean it, change the towels, maybe do the garbage. Pros and cons to it. I like how it's the middle ground. It's in between. It's not like a fully serviced hotel. I feel like in a hotel, maybe I'd run into more people and maybe meet some more people, right? But here, there's maybe a bit more privacy as well too, which I like.
Yeah, I think Airbnb is probably your best bet for anything about a month or so. You don't really want to stay in a hotel for a month, and anything more than a month, you're probably better off renting an apartment. But for just 1 month, it might be more hassle than it's worth to go out and try to rent an apartment. So Airbnb is a good option. So yeah, maybe you don't meet quite as many people, but you've been doing a good job meeting plenty of people.
Been trying.
All
Yeah.
right, so let's
Yeah.
talk about that.
Yeah.
Like how do you go about running into people and meeting people
Yeah.
while you're traveling?
Yeah. I really believe in community. Even back in Toronto, I've been generally good at like keeping in touch with friends and just, trying to get into places where I can meet more people. So for here, I wanted to try the same thing, right? Like, can I meet people here? I need to put in the effort to see, because to me, when I thought about moving somewhere else, and that's another thing about this trip, like one of the things that prompted it was I didn't want to just live in Canada just because of circumstance, right? Like I don't hate Canada, right? I'm not like maybe an extreme like disliker of where I come from, right? There's pros and cons to everything, I think. But I didn't want to just live in Canada because I was born there. I wanted to see more of the world and see, maybe I want to live somewhere else, and then choose where to live, right? So the big part, what kind of comes down to me amongst everything, like where the weather, the food, the lifestyle, the culture, it did come down to community. So that was really important for me at the top of my list. Like wherever I go, I need to see, is there a community or are there people I can connect with? So I tried to get on some apps. Definitely, I've already watched Travis's YouTube videos. That was the first place that I started. He has his school community that was really helpful. So I joined that. So that was my first into the community. And it was perfect because as soon as I got here, there was a meetup that weekend, right? So that was great. And then you meet more people as you go to these. I went to your meetup. Everyone wanted to do another meetup after a week later. Then I met someone else from there. And then you end up hanging out with them. And then you have like separate hangouts. Those friends bring their friends, and then you end up meeting a bunch of different people, and you kind of talk about business, sports, and then you end up hanging out and creating future hangouts and stuff like that.
Yeah, what you've done a good job at meeting somebody and then actually like following up and then meeting them again, and then you'll go out with them and a group of people, and then you connect with those people and you might meet up.
Yeah.
Right. You came to the school meetup and then met somebody there and then went and hung out with them another time and just branch out.
Yeah.
Right. So if you put a little effort into it that way, it's actually not too hard to meet people.
Yeah.
When I was first thinking about like the group and how can I help people coming to Vietnam, all of my thoughts were about like, I can help you find an apartment, I can help you open a bank account, all these different like logistical things. And what I've realized over time, the most important thing for most people is community. Who am I going to hang out with when I'm actually there? I can figure out all the other boring stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of purpose it's trying to fill now, is creating a group
Yep.
of people that can hang out with each other as soon as you get here. Yeah, so that's good.
Yeah.
How about overall impressions of Da Nang so far compared? So you got Ho Chi Minh, super crazy city. Hanoi, still a pretty crazy city.
Yeah.
And then Da Nang is a very different thing. So what's your thoughts on Da Nang?
I feel like I can get the big city side. Maybe it's not as big, but I can get a busy city side here when I go over the bridge. Maybe I like during rush hour. But I can also, go to the beach. I can also still go to the river where it's peaceful, right? So that's one of my favorite things to do, go by the river, have some sugarcane juice. So I've been liking that I kind of get a little bit of each of the vibes. Air pollution, a lot better here. I'm seeing the sun a lot more too, which I like. The mountains are close and you can see them. So I love the idea and just seeing mountain and ocean together. I also like the fact that I can scooter here. Like the other places were a bit too hectic, but I see like it's a lot more common for people foreigners to scooter here. So yeah, I've rented a scooter and I love exploring and driving around the city.
It's definitely fair. The city side of Da Nang does actually feel like a city. It's pretty busy. Nothing compared to the other two big cities, but it is here. Most people don't ever make it across the river to kind of see that part of the city. And just across the river on the beach side is a completely different kind of feel, vibe to it. So that's a cool thing about Da Nang, is you can have the super chill, relaxed vibe, or the busier city vibe if you want. Less pollution, you got the mountains, you got the beach. Can you tell me, has there been any like disappointing experiences? Because I know you've had a pretty good time overall. You're enjoying everything. What's been kind of like a little bit off?
Here, that's the thing. I guess at the top of my head, I can't really think of anything that's been disappointing, right? Because it depends on the mindset too, right? Like I don't think maybe I can think of anything like objectively disappointing. So my mindset is like I came here to have unknowns and embrace the unknowns and embrace uncertainty. So to me, I wasn't maybe disappointed. I was just like, oh, that's I guess how things are here, right? And I was just kind of taking that as another data point. Where if I were to move here or live here, then that's just like something. Maybe it's not good.
That's a great attitude to have. And if you do come to Vietnam, I'm telling you, that's the attitude that you want to have, or you could probably very easily be disappointed in a lot of things, because there's a lot of things that are going to be different than what you're used to. You just go, that's how it is here. Okay, interesting.
Another thing I noticed was like kind of the service. Like some people kind of like, I think maybe we're maybe disappointed in like maybe the service at some restaurants and some coffee shops. Whereas for me, it's again like, okay, I was like, okay, that's how it is here. But for me, I kind of like it. Where it's just like, I go order my coffee, I'm left alone in peace, can do my thing. I can stay for 3 hours if I need to. And then when I'm ready to pay, I walk up and pay. If I want something else, I'll walk up and get them.
Right.
Right? I
So
kind of love that.
service in Vietnam is the opposite of in Western cultures, where they, in a Western environment, they're going to come and check on you every couple minutes and this and that. In Vietnam, they walk up to you right when you walk in the door. What do you want? Bring your thing. Now they're not going to talk to you again unless you want some. Then you got to yell, "Hanoi!" And then they'll come over. Yeah, they're going to run up now. So you got to yell out to get their attention. But that's just like, that's the culture here. That's how it works. It's not because they're like being bad at their job and not paying attention to you. Any cool experiences, like anything that really sticks out?
Or below the Airbnb I'm staying right now is a spa. And yeah, she was like, the ladies, they were always like kind of joking around with me. They're family, right? And like, it's like mother daughter, and mom's always pressuring me to get a massage or pedicure or something like that. But the daughter's like, oh, like leave them alone, like it's okay, right? And they're just being like fun. And then they work every day. They just work so hard, and they're there every single day. One day they were just like eating lunch, and they just even offered me just like one of their plates of lunch too. And I was like, wow, that's it was just so nice of them. Like,
Yeah, we were talking a little bit before we started filming, even just about that idea. Clearly, there's Vietnamese families that don't make a lot of money. They work 7 days a week. They're obviously just kind of getting by, but it's nothing for them to like offer you lunch or offer you a drink or something like that. So we're saying, I feel like I've always noticed of all the cultures all over the world, it's the people that had the least amount of money are the least stingiest with, and like the most generous and most want to offer something to you. Where people with more money than they can ever use, want to hold on to every penny. So it's always interesting to hear stories like that. And that's a very common Vietnamese thing, that they want to invite you to lunch, invite you for drink some beers with them, whatever. So you have a lot of good experiences that way. Overall, you've had a pretty good trip. Gonna spend, all in all, it'll be a few months you'll be here, right?
yeah,
And then hopefully come back again after your friend's wedding.
yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, I think I would definitely want to come back, and then yeah, maybe try to stay longer term. We'll see.
Yeah, sweet, right? Well, Ryan, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you sharing.
Thanks for having me.
Hopefully that was helpful. See you guys in the next one. Peace.